As you start to expand your garden and your garden gets bigger and bigger, you're gonna notice that it's gonna be harder and harder to start watering all of those plants. So in this video, I'm gonna show you a cool different way of irrigation using PVC pipe. Let's go. What's going on, my plant peoples? I am the ADHD gardener, where I use gardening, houseplants, and humor as a form of mental health therapy. And as usual, I'm at my dad's place and he has a large garden. My dad is using PVC pipe for his irrigation, but I'm using drip line for my irrigation, but that's gonna be for another video. But this video, I'm gonna show you guys how to set up your irrigation, or at least how my dad set it up, so you have a good idea as to how you can possibly do it in your own garden. Why did you choose PVC pipe in the first place?
Because I figured it lasts for years. If I get it right, it will last for years. That Schedule 40 is pretty durable.
Schedule 40 is what?
It's thicker PVC than the other PVC, which is very thin. The sun will beat it up after a year or two. You're probably not going to be any good.
So what was the name of it?
Schedule 40. It's a thicker pipe, PVC.
Now, the first main thing you have to worry about is the water source. Is the water source coming out from your house, or do you have an outdoor spigot or somewhere where you can have some water? As soon as you find the water spigot, you're actually going to find out what your water pressure is for the house. Now, typically you would want what? I have at least 80 pounds of pressure in my house. Dad, how much you have? My dad's got like 95 pounds of pressure. That means we're gonna have to regulate. Having a water pressure that high, like 95 pounds of pressure, will definitely not do. So you're gonna need a pressure regulator. Now that's something really small that you attach to the spigot so it can control how much water and pressure is coming out of the hose. After you tap into the water spigot with the pressure regulator, you're gonna have an irrigation hose that can withstand all that pressure. Garden hose is not gonna really cut it. Now you have here a garden hose. Now why did you use that versus irrigation tubing? Because we all know if you use garden hose, it may not withstand the pressure.
True that. And I do have 95 pounds coming out of the timer all the way. It has 95 pounds coming up to here. But once you open it up, it, what do you call it? Dissipates, it spreads out, and you no longer have
that garden hose. So this, I guess, is a special type of garden hose, because this is not just your average hose.
Good quality hose. First of all, that can withstand easily those 95 pounds. It's going through the timer, coming out of the timer. Once it comes out of the timer, it's going to spread out. So yeah. I lose a lot of pressure. 95 pounds. You would think I'd be able to irrigate the whole thing at one time.
You can't, no.
Even the whole zone at the whole time.
If you don't want to use that, of course, there is some irrigation line that you can special, to use. But if you could find this one, awesome. Then it's going to come down and it's going to hit right here, which is the timer. You see here, that is the main irrigation line that is coming from the house. If your garden is this big, you're going to need a timer, because you're going to have so many plants and so much water. You need to kind of figure out what kind of zones that you want to water at a time.
Well, it's all because of the pressure. You have to separate in zones, because you start to drop a lot of pressure after you do, let's say, if you're trying to do them all at once, it's not going to work. So a 4-way timer.
If you have a four zone one, you want one at a time. One zone.
One at a time. You'll test it. You might be able to do 2 at a time. It all depends on how many lines of PVC you have, how many holes have you drilled in it. So you have to play with it.
His garden is really large, so that's why he broke it up into 4 different zones, because you want to water one part at a time. It's going to take too much water, and it really is not going to have that much pressure if you put on every single one of them at the same time. Now you're going to set it up and send that to the PVC pipe, which is what he has right here.
Now I probably should have went with 3/4.
Ooh, what size is your PVC pipe right now?
1/2 inch, and I'm having a bit of issue because of that. Your body, where you have bigger, and then you branch off of that. But it's all right. It's still, I'm making it happen. If not, there's a good old water hose nearby. Yeah, well, those connections anyway, you have to make them fit into 1/2 inch PVC.
Notice that there is a clamp right over here, so I'm assuming that is going to keep the water in. I don't know what this blue thing is.
Water well, I think, yeah, those are, you'll find those at Home Depot in the like water well department. Because this here is a male threaded, so you have to go to this here, and they have different connections. You have to look for them. That's a pain in the butt looking for them, because 1/2 inch. If I wanted to go to 3/4 here, I would have to change this whole thing.
whole thing, the whole
And I
setup.
didn't feel like
After you have the connections to the hose, that is where you start going and running your PVC pipe to where it needs to go, depending on what garden bed and where you want to, where you want to water.
I should have probably did an area with 1/2-inch PVC and an
And to
area with
test it.
3/4-inch PVC and see. Maybe if I had used 3/4 here, I probably didn't have to split it into 2 zones.
This one line right here goes this way, and it goes all the way to these 2 garden beds right here. So I'm assuming this is one zone right here. We have your joints so you can go around your garden bed. And then, oh, we are. After you have your connection piece, then you're gonna come up to your garden bed. At the end of these PVC pipes, you just have a stopper. You're gonna need that so your water does not come out of the PVC pipe that way. Oh, that looks good. With a little walkway in the center.
Now, don't get me wrong. You're gonna spend a few $100s doing all these little ventures.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
this is not cheap, yo. This is
for-
not.
'cause I could actually take a pair of pliers, channel locks, and I could turn. Those are not glued.
Oh, that is a good question. Okay, so you normally, if you know that it's going to be stable and you're not going to move it, then you would possibly kind of like glue it or.
The pressure's not gonna be enough to pop these out.
Okay.
Only over here you have to glue, because the pressure comes here. Once you shut this off, it'll pop.
Oh, okay. So
Right, but
wherever the
after
connector
the
is.
valve, after the valve,
after
you
the
don't
valve.
you don't have to glue anything. So sometimes I could come in here, yes, and grab a pair of pliers and just turn this channel locks. And you turn it and you make it go. If it's shooting over here, you can make it shoot lower.
Right.
You see
Okay,
what
so these areas where the PVC is really bringing the water, you do not glue that, but only the connection area where it's coming out of the main PVC source, water right there. How long are these pipes?
10-footers. They come already 10-footers. That's why I made the beds.
10 foot.
10
Oh,
foot.
so they can fit in
Right,
accordance
and
to
then
the PVC
And
pipe.
then of course, if you cut one in half, there's your lateral.
Yeah.
You know.
Ah.
You get two out of 1 10-footer. You get 2, one for the end. Like I say, some of them require.
Yeah.
end.
And then,
Just cut them in half.
one
And
piece
these are
in
just
half.
straight. You don't have to do anything but put a cap.
all right. Let's talk Monets, dinero. What's up with this? It ain't cheap though. It ain't.
I would say it was about probably $300.
Oh, that's cheaper than my drip line.
$300 to $400.
Now this is where it can get a little tricky when it comes to bringing up the water right here. This is where the pressure comes into play because it's going down, but it has to come up. So there has to be enough pressure to come up and out of the PVC pipe. It now has the same setup. Now, if you notice in the first garden bed that there was a lot bigger of a height to get to, up here. But this one is very short. This one is like really close to the ground.
Right now I have both beds open, and you see the pressure. The tomatoes are doing well. The brassicas are not doing that well with pressure, but enough if I leave it on long enough.
So this right here, these 2 garden beds are one zone. They're running off of the same PVC pipe. So as he was saying, there could be a pressure issue if you're running both beds at the same time. I mean, it is a
I
possibility.
could increase it. Watch this. Once I shut this one off, look
Then
at the,
all of a sudden, wow. All of a sudden, this one has a lot of pressure. What about the size of the holes of the PVC?
What do you mean? The hole?
Yeah, the hole that you made. The hole that you made
first
for
I
it.
started with 1/16. That was not enough, and it was easily clogged. I went to 1/8.
1/8.
Yes. I said 1/16, but at 1/16, it's like a fine squirt, and it goes far. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And harder to control. The 1/8, I get more flow. You see it?
Oh, yeah.
You see those little ones that I made first? That's why.
Okay, so you have the 1/16, which is the double small hole that you see, and then you have the 1/8.
Another thing.
That's a big one.
Another thing was that I should have, like a big dummy, of course. I get all full of myself, and I drill everything in advance because I'm just gonna come and plug everything in, and it's gonna work great.
Right, that did not work.
Negative. I had to come back, and you notice how the 1/8 is right on the plant, right on the right on the plant.
Yes.
Because after I planted the plant, I came back and I drilled.
Oh, you drilled extra holes to fit where
the
you.
1/8 hole to go right into the plant, which is probably what I should have done from the get-go.
Huh.
But you notice, so when I want to eliminate a certain amount of holes, because look at this, I have found some little screws, and I put them in there.
Oh, that's smart. If you want to top up.
Eliminate. Yeah, look over there. I have a whole bunch.
Now he just put those screws in there so he can stop the water flow coming out of that hole.
Control where they going. That's why the pepper bed was getting only mostly, right into there, because I pre-drilled like a big dummy all these holes. Now, you know, please do not pre-drill everything. Yes.
Question. What's up with this 2x4 that you have right here?
Well, something about elevation. It has to be perfectly level, pretty much, for it to get the proper amount of water everywhere. You know what I mean?
That's true. Okay, so it is a trial and error. You have to play around with the PVC pipe.
You want it as level as possible, because if this was all sloped down, all the pressure would go that way. In other words, if that's up a little bit, and then most of the pressure's here, let's say 80%.
Yeah.
You know, maybe 60, 70%. So you have to work with it. You can feed your water-soluble fertilizer with the siphon that we got from Hall.
Oh, the one, yes, because the siphon that Dad has, I could not use it on mine because the drip line that I have is too small. Okay, so you have three areas within this one zone.
Yes.
Okay, that's a smaller one which has the same connection. Over here, though, you have two separate ones. Why did you do that?
Heck, if I know, the pressure just acts up. I mean, you'd figure the same, basically about the same distance, right?
It is.
I should be able to do this whole entire bed, right?
Right.
I don't get what I mean, I'm thinking it's the amount of tubing I have to do with it. This has a lot of stuff. That's what I say. Don't drill all your holes in advance.
Don't drill all the holes in advance, because you won't know what's going to go on until, you know, shit hits the fan. I get it. This bed has two zones. It's just the beginning part, as you see, and that's where the end caps come in, and then the other valve is going to be the other end of the garden bed. Basically, in a nutshell, he just wanted more water access to the beans. All your beans watered. I really like this PVC system. It was a pain in the butt to watch him set it up, though. Not gonna lie, it was a biatch setting this up.
The main reason for this whole thing, for years I just been using hose, jars, cans. The main reason was I was trying to, the garden is getting bigger. I wanted to use the water-soluble fertilizer. I could just pump it right through there. You know what I mean?
And that was a good reason as to why you would do the PVC. If you want to put water-soluble fertilizer through, the hose or in the pipes are big enough in order to hold on to all that.
Yeah.
Whoa! That's because he closed another valve within the same water source. If he cuts it off or it turns it on, whoop, there goes the pressure. It's a lot lower. I hope you enjoyed this video and you got a good idea as to what you can possibly do in your garden using irrigation. Now, irrigation can come in many different ways. PVC is just one of them. Of course, drip line is another one, but that's for a different video that I'm going to show you guys. So stick around to the next video so I can show you guys a different way of irrigation aside from the PVC. If you did enjoy this video and you want to show me some love, then don't forget to smash that like button. I really appreciate it. Also, if you haven't already, then consider subscribing. I drop a video every week and then some in between. Don't forget about the notification bell. Without the bell, you won't know I'm dropping a video. And last but not least, you can catch me on Facebook and Instagram. I'm on there all the time. You can drop me a message. I post funny memes, a little DIY behind the scenes of my videos. And every now and again, I like to vent because everybody's got a vent. So until the next episode, you guys, you and me both are going to be growing one plant at a time, one day at a time. I'll check y'all later. Peace and love.